Right, good morning. We are on a trip now to Broome pits. Just for a bit of change of scenery really. We keep fishing Marsh Trail and the same old sort of places. Just thought we'd give Broome pits a go. We come down sort of yesterday sort of afternoon. Took us a while to get all the gear and that set up, so we decided not to sort of do any filming as such last night. We had a look around. All the best swims were kind of taken. The only sort of choice we had really was to double up in the first swim on peg one. So I'm on to the right hand side sort of margin. I've got a bit of open water. Lee's got a sort of open water, so out towards the island. He's got 15 rap sort of rap range. So I think he had one at 10 raps last night, one at 8. I was fishing to the right hand snag. Bit difficult to get in there, but we sort of between us we got it in there with the bushwhacker, and I had one at 8 foot about 10 wraps, so give that a go. Perhaps we should have filmed a bit earlier, so about midnight Lee had a run on his left hand rod. That was on the enemy hard hooker, with just a 4 bait stringer, so they were showing out there yesterday. So he had an absolute rip and run at about 12 o'clock, had about a 10-minute battle, and it was another PB for him. In the grand scheme of things, well, that's a small one in here. That was £14, but very nice for Lee to get his PB. Got back into bed 4 o'clock. I had a bit of a finicky take. Hang was going sort of up and down, but didn't scream off like Lee's did. Got there with my torch, saw the rod tip knocking. That had gone. Well, I picked up the bait, ran under the snags on a free run and lead. Felt a bit of grating. That did lock up a couple of times, but we managed to get that free. And that was a £14 5-ounce sort of koi linear. I'll put the photos of both the fish up for you in a second, after this little bit, and then we hope there's more to come. I'll show you the lake in a minute. So it is a different scenery. So yeah, we'll leave that there for now. We'll do rigs, bait, bits and bobs like that later on, and we'll catch you later, guys. See you later. Monster. See you later, mate. Right, here we go. Here's my swim. I say this is peg one. So peg one, so that's a double swim. So I've got a snag down to the right hand side. Got 14 rap range sort of there, or limit I should say, not range. 14 rap limit there. So that's there's a snag there which you can cast to, but so between us, just put out with a bushwhacker, which is A, safer, and B, you can get a concentration of bait. We're not really putting a lot. I just had a couple of boops on that rod, but I think it might be wind. Yeah, so I've got one of the snag tree. That one was, I had that linear on. That was a £14 5-ounce. That was on a Task hard hooker with a enemy half a wafter on top of it, a pale pink one. So the Task, that's a tuna and spicy krill. So I'm not really a fish meal lover, but apparently I was just advised that they like fish meal sort of a little more than they do kind of fruity baits in here. The left hand rod, I'm just trying to get my finger in the shot, is, well, it was, there's a stump here. That's about 10 wraps, but what I've done now is, as my mate Tony advised, well, it's not in shot, but about 10 wraps out towards the tree, towards the shallows. There's a shallow area there, and if the carp are going through there in the sun, you generally can get pickups there if they're passing. So I've just got a wafter on that one, with a mesh bag on that. So fingers crossed, I'll leave that there. Any more action, whatever, so I'll show you rigs, bait and other things later on. I'll catch you later. It's about 12:30 now, so we just walk myself, rather than doing sort of evening meals, we'll do a bit of a cook up, shall we say, during the day. So tonight we just have a sandwich or something. Live on the bank like you do at home. Nice old chicken curry on the go there. We'll get this down ourselves and we'll give you a bit of an update a bit later on. Catch you in a bit. We'll just out of the blue, right hand rod went again. What was that? 21?
21-1.
Oh yeah, 21-1.
Yeah, 21-1.
And that was
kind of ripped off and bent the rod in half.
that was on a... What was that on? I can't remember what that was on there.
Krill, wasn't it?
No, that was on a fam.
Fam.
I think that was on a fam, that one. But yeah, nice to get, I'll say the bit of sort of calm water down my right hand margin. We'll get out there again. We'll just do a little short piece because it's been flapping around a little bit. And we'll show you rigs that a bit later on. Catch you later. Here's a release of 21. Lee's just going to release that for me whilst I'm doing a bit of filming. That scrap's so hard to fight. It was bigger than that, to be fair. Sorry I didn't get the fight. It was just sort of a absolute... I need to pull the rod off a stand. There we go, lovely. Right, we'll get the rods out again and then hopefully back to you shortly. Right, afternoon guys, it's about 5:30 now, I think it is. I haven't got more on. It's about 5:30 at the moment, so just thought we'd put this rod back out. I just thought I was just gonna show you what I was doing. I'll try and perhaps film it going out because we've got a bit of a tactic going on where Lee's going over around to the side of the spot, pushing his bushwhacker out for me so I can cast over the bushwhacker, then dragging the lead back and then putting my rig on and then plonking it in. You know me by now, so this is much of a muchness. I say leader, 3.5 ounce lead from Donk Leads. That's the Roger and Kerry lead. So I've always put my little like stopper bead there, just free running. That's the Atomic Tackle run rig system. That is the Atomic Tackle jelly wire soft. Going down a bit of putty, and then on there got the size 6 grabber hook. And at the moment I'm using the Task, which is tuna and spicy krill, and that's topped off with half of a, on this particular occasion, a pink, washed out pink fam wafter. All I'm doing on that, so I'm not putting a lot of bait in. Everyone seems to spot on here. I'm just going lightly because it is still the spring, and all I'm doing on that is hooking on just a 4-bait mesh stringer, if you like. Got 2 enemy in there, got 2 Task in there, and then I've put a couple of freebies and we'll just tip out on the spoon, and that is pretty much it. I'm not putting any bait in at all. Both the takes that I've had have come off the same rod, off the right hand margin. Nothing on the other rod. I'm going to bring that out of the shallows at the minute. I'm fishing kind of the shallows at about 10 wraps. I'm going to move that. It's going to be 10 wraps again, but it's going to be out towards the swim called Barney's. I'm going to put that 10 wraps in about 8 foot of water. Maybe put another bag out there, and then perhaps sprinkle a few boilies around it. But what I'll do is I'll finish this little bit. We'll try and get the rigs and that in the water, and I'll try and film me putting it in. You just have to excuse the wind. I haven't got the mics on. You'll be right in here, but it might not be so clear out there, so we'll give it a go. Catch you in a bit. Right, I don't know if you can see this, guys. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So Lee has just pushed the bushwhacker out. I don't know if you can see that in the distance, but we'll try and zoom in on the video. Just going to try and get this on there first time. Well, that was the right distance, as you could see, but I missed it. Trouble is, I did find out earlier on, if you go too far past that tree, you get snagged, and I did. Ah! Sorry guys, this wind's a bit of a pain in the arse, excuse my French. Right, 3rd time lucky. We'll go a bit to the right this time. Oh, for crying out loud. Now leave it where it was, that was alright. That's the one. I think you pulled that in too quick, did you? I don't know. Right, as you can see, Lee's now pulling in the bushwhacker, and then the line will be over the top of the spoon. Then he's got my right. The rig is now going in, guys. I was literally going just in the middle of that snag. Little further. Little further. There. Back. Right, go back. There. Lovely, thank you. Right, there we go, guys. I say it is a bit of, well, so it's not complicated, but it is when you're trying to guide someone. I say I do appreciate his help, because I tried to do that this morning, and that took me 3 or 4 attempts. So we'll turn it off. Right, good afternoon, guys. It's now Tuesday afternoon. Didn't do much of a morning update, but just been trying to get the rods and all that sort of just for the day. Wind is still present, but it's a lot warmer sitting here in the sun. So hopefully, I mean, I've got one in that sort of one on the plateau in that sort of shallow area. I'll just put sort of bright fan wafter, not wafter, sorry, pop up on there, bright pink one. With just a few crumblies on that one, just a little sort of stick, if you like. Right hand one still in the same place. I think last night I had a kind of a finicky kind of run. I thought it was at the time. Come out and realised the battery was dying on my Delkim. When I went to reel that in this morning, I had the initial run at stop, and then it dropped back down. When I reeled it in this morning, the lead and that was nowhere near, you know, where the rig was. So I reckon I had a pickup last night, got done on that one, but it is what it is. There's no point worrying about it. Just thought I'd run through the kind of bait I've been using on this trip. As you know, obviously it's the goods. But on this session, I mean, I've really fell in love with the Enemy. Enemy is a nut and maple extract. I think the first time I used the FAM, and that was on Marsh Trail back in the winter. and I blanked on the first time I used it. However, ever since then, when I've been fishing Wisset through till now, so give it 3 or 4 months, every time I've gone, I've had one. I had that big hit of 8-9 fish when I went to Wisset that time when it was cold, so that's really doing me really well. Obviously I won't go for every single bait that's done, but so on this session I've got some Task hard hookers. That's got like a coating on there. That's tuna and spicy krill. When me and Lee went to that factory, we saw these being rolled. Also, there was no secrets bar there. We just went into the factory, got invited there, went and ordered some bait, and got invited into the factory for a good old look. So we know there's the kind of no BS, if you like, when it comes to, we know what so we don't know exactly what he puts in there, but we know from what Wayne's been telling us, you know, it's a good bait, different from the rest. All I'll say about that is, if you know, you know. It's not, there's no, basically the bait hasn't got all bulk ingredients in there like the main companies do. Bit of a secret, it's working everywhere. I say it's everywhere around here. I mean, it's working on here, it's been working on Melton, it's been working on bar and pits, the syndicate, so that's going really, really well. Everywhere that goes, it just seems to catch. So results speak for themselves. Yeah, so that's the Task. What it also does, if you like your fluoros, especially this time of year, I say I've got the enemy ones here. You can get them in individual pots if you like, yellow, white and pink, which is they're your fluoros. So you can get them in either a mixed pot like that, or he does do them, you know, you can just have pink, you just have white, you just have yellow, etc, etc. For the wafters, again, they're the that's the FAM. The wafters are a paler colour, they smell absolutely amazing. So white ones, yellows and pale pinks again. So all I've been doing on this one, as you saw on a previous rig bit, I was just using a Task hard hooker, and on the bottom of that I'm just sort of biting off half a FAM or an NMS FAM that's been doing me then. Well, I've done me the 2 fish, the 21 and the 14. So that is the catch up for now. I might take you in a minute to the actual spot where I'm dropping my rigs. I've just got to go up the hill and walk down the bank a little bit. We might even see a fish or two down there. So they are at the back bowl. People have been walking their dogs and stuff, people who fish, and they have, one of them done a video yesterday, they're just sitting in the snags. You don't need a lot of bait. You're just hoping that when they come past, you know, they smell something and then go for the feed. 7 baits max, that's all I'm doing, like 3 on a stick, 3 or 4 loose ones, that is it. That's what I've had all my fish on, so I'll leave that for now. I know I'm waffling. I'll take to the spot very shortly, and we'll see if we can see any fish up there. I'll catch you in a bit. Right, I'm just going to go and show you the actual spot. Lee's got my rod, so if that does go, then obviously he's got it. Yeah, this area is quite handy because you used to be able to just cast to it, which I think was, I think they said 14 wraps. So I did start casting to it, and someone had a good idea and said, why don't you sort of push your bushwhacker out? We tried it that way, and also I've done an old Camelot method, which is to cast a marker rod out, cast your rig or your lead without your hook length on there, just catch that onto the float, and then so mate Lee, we'll talk to him actually later, I say, because he's beating his PB. We will yeah, have a word with him. Yeah, sorry. And then he was coming over with the rig, putting the rig on, and it's basically getting the bushwhacker and then just tip it in. So that's literally like 2 sections, 2.5 sections. But we're now coming to the spot now. Someone has made a track down here. So you used to have a bait up from the top here, but so there's a path down there now. We'll keep quiet just in case if there's any fish down there. There's no fish down there, but so the spot is literally just off, basically there. That's where both my fish have come from. I say I think it was warmer, They'll probably come up on that shelf there. I don't know if you can see that, so that cleary bit down here. They'll probably come right in there, but so it's not really warm. I think that's north-east, that wind, so it isn't exactly warm. So I'll leave that there. I'm going to stand out here for a bit just in case I see one. Then if I do, I'll put the video back on. We'll catch you later. Right, afternoon guys. I just thought I'd bring you down to sort of to the left hand side of us. So this is as you can see, peg 3. There is a peg also just over there, but on this particular peg here, if you can fish this peg if no one's fishing that peg 4, so you're better off kind of fishing this peg anyway. There was quite a lot of tree line over there, but as you can see there, sort of cut it down a bit. There's lots of overhanging trees that they've cut them back. Got a nice little bay over there as well, so that's quite handy over this side because you've got the toilet just there. But yeah, so you go along here, so you've pretty much got to, I think sort of in here, so all this bank, just the left hand side, that swim just in front there, that's one of the lawn swim. I think that's the little lawns, and where you just see that bivvy, that's the big lawns. So the one there up to there's a swim pretty much to the left of that island, if you like. So you've got the island in front of you and the snags on the tree line down here. So I'd like to fish over that side really. So that blank one over there, sort of just on the end, right hand side of that one. That's just twatting out. I don't know what they call it that, but anyway, it's quite amusing anyway. Got swim over there. So the trouble is, that's really hilly over there. So we were going to go into the steps. Ironically, whilst I was eating I was just before I'd had my lunch, some guy did have one. So that's the bush swim with that gentleman there on the right. I say dead opposite us is where the steps are, where the guy had a little common, but yeah, not a great deal sort of coming out. I haven't seen a lot jump today either, if I'm being quite honest with you. But we still got obviously the rest of the day, tonight, all day tomorrow, the following night, and then we'll start packing away on Friday morning. Get home, see the wife and the dogs, and also obviously my children are coming over as well. So it's been a nice little break. Hopefully in between there, obviously we can see a bit more fish action. But I just thought I'd bring it down here. As you can see, it's a marvellous lake. I say this is Broome B pit, this one. So there is another 3 lakes on the complex. Lake A, which is where that track goes up, and near the car park, that's Lake A. Behind this one, over to the right, is the C pit, and a bit further on from there is D pit. D pit is kind of the man's carp water, if you like. I think there's less than, I think there's only about 15 carp in there, but they go up to about 49 pounds. So what gets caught in there gets kept hush hush, shall we say. Alright, so we'll leave it there for the moment. So we'll get the rods out again, probably put them out about 7ish. Try and get we'll try and get a bit done with Lee, because last time I tried doing that, unfortunately the audio didn't come out. But we'll get them on film a bit later, and we'll catch you later. Cheers. Right, a bit of a morning update for you then. So it's now Thursday morning. It was absolutely freezing last night, so we've got a sort of a northeasterly wind, which isn't helping matters. I think there's been only one fish, I think I mentioned that yesterday, only one fish caught in the step swim, which ironically is where my mate told me to move to. But also I have got company with Lee. Well, perhaps I'll have a bit of a chat with him later on myself. We're going to do it. I'm just on top of the hill, just seeing if they if I can see any fish or anything. So you've got a high vantage point because you can bait up, like I showed you yesterday, just go and bait up in the swim down below. Lee was contemplating on sort of going, but I just said keep the faith. You never know what might happen. I said there's plenty of sort of 30s coming out. I think on Saturday or over the weekend someone had 6 over in the step swim to just over £30, so they were coming out, but I think this northeasterly wind has sort of killed things off a little bit. So top of this hill it is quite warm. Down where we are, we're sitting there shivering, and I've got 2 hoodies on. Bit different to what it was like sort of last April. I can remember being cold on the first night and then being absolutely fine, sort of 17-18 degrees in the day and sort of colder at night time. But it is what it is. So we've got the rest of the day and tonight. And then so we'll take it from there, and then hopefully bag 1 or 2 more. Also we didn't get that on film. Last night Lee had a run, I didn't even hear it go off. He said, can I borrow you a minute? I literally just dozed off to sleep, and he said, I think I've got a Broome on. And I just put the sleeping bag over my head and said, I'm not getting out for a Broome. No way I'm getting out for a Broome, because that was absolutely freezing last night, like I say. But anyway, I'm waffling now. I will get back to the bivvy, put the kettle on. We'll catch up a bit later. So we'll have a discussion with Lee, because obviously we tried to do that at Wisset before, and for some reason the audio didn't come out, so that didn't go on the film. So leave it there for now, and we'll speak to you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Right, good morning. It's now Friday morning, and I'm starting to get the gear sort of tidied up in the bivvy. Gets all the bags outside. I would like to do that when I sort of finish my session, just sort of let alone off and have a cup of tea or something or other, and then just carry on going. But hopefully I'm going to be off by, I'm going to say midday, but by the time I've got all the gear and that, I've got to do 2 trips to the barrow. Probably going to be home hopefully by, let's just say, middle of the afternoon, so that will do me. Yeah, despite our best efforts last night, the fish were shown in front of Lee again on the left hand side. I told him to cast one of his rods where they were shown, because the guy in pick 2 had moved. He did have a run on his right hand rod last night, absolutely, well, say screaming run. Clutch was going, picked up the rod, there's absolutely nothing there, checked his hook, and the hook pointed bird over. So that was the first annoying part of sort of yesterday afternoon and evening. And then at about, I can't remember what time it was now, he had another run, just playing it in, shouted me, got me up, go outside there, got the net and stuff already, kiting down to his left, looked a fairly decent one. I don't like to say anything, the way that was pulling, that was a half decent one, and it cut him off. So you can imagine the language that came out there. So that was 2 runs he had last night, and then didn't land any of them. So that was a bit of a downer, if you like, obviously at the end of the session. But it is what it is, unfortunately. You lose some, you win some. That's at the end of the day. Yeah, so I'll just show you the light. It's blinking lovely this morning. There was a big old fog on it, so you couldn't see anything. But there is a bit of a frost, because the old Bernie Bear on the buzz bars, he's got frost all over his back, bless him. So I'll turn you around to show you the lake, and then I'll have a cuppa, and then we'll probably get packed up and on our way. There you go, what an absolute glorious morning. So I've got a blue sky. For a change, I think the wind's changed a little bit. That's not coming straight in there, it's quite calm at the moment. I don't know if that wind's meant to pick up or not, but like I said, we're going to go about lunchtime anyway. There's been a few out, I've seen some pictures on the old social media for Broome pits, and social media, a few has been out. I think there was a 20 something out and 18. Obviously my couple, Lee's one, he would have 3 if he wouldn't lost another 2. I think the majority of the fishermen coming on the far side, mainly around the islands. So that's food for thought for next time. So I did find them. You probably saw on my earlier clip. I did have a walk down the back bay. There was someone in the toilet swim, which is another one of my favourites. Fish were going up and down the margins there. Don't look as though they were kind of in a feeding mood, but I did think I caught them. Sorry, like 3 or 4 of them with their sort of their heads down. I don't know what they were feeding on, but yeah, they were coming past in sort of groups of 3 and 4. Bit strange because that's in the sort of shade up there, and so when they're coming in the margins, it normally needs to be quite warm. So I did see 4 on my right hand rod yesterday, but I think all the disturbance of me trying to cast over the microfloat to drag the lead and then put it into the trees probably disturbed them a little bit. Last night I even tried on the left hand rod. I thought I haven't tried any kind of bait as such, as in I was just using sort of 3-4 bait stringers. Last night I tried one rod with a spoonful of sort of tiger nuts and boilies crushed. I thought I'd give it a task a go. That hasn't sort of pulled anything off. So really, the only thing I haven't really tried was the zigs. And you know how much I love zigs. I don't like them at all. So we've done everything we can. I think it was probably, in all honesty, swim choice. So we didn't have a lot of choice when we turned up. Could have moved, but with the amount of gear I take, it's not worth the move. So we'll leave that there and we'll catch you later.